Our country's railroads could drive consumer prices even higher. According to a new ABC News Washington Post poll, 94% of Americans are already either upset or concerned about inflation. Now the rail industry is looking at a worker shortage. They've slashed the workforce before the pandemic. Now my next guest says that smaller staff has led to slower service, higher prices, and an unsafe work environment. Greg Regan, president of the Transportation Trades Department at the AFL-CIO, joins me now with more on this. Greg, thanks for being here. You know, we all depend on the rail industry, whether we realize it or not, because of how many goods get back and forth that way. So walk me through what's happening right now, and what does it mean for American consumers?
Well, right now, we're facing the consequences of, frankly, years-long policy that has decimated the rail workforce and the infrastructure they rely on. To cite an earlier statistic of what you said, the freight railroads slashed their workforce by 30% in the 4 years leading up to the pandemic. So when you have that type of atrophy in the workforce, they're completely unable to deal with the surge in goods that we saw during the pandemic and have since seen afterwards. So right now we're dealing with those consequences.
Now, you say that these problems started before the pandemic hit. So what changed in 2020? How did the pandemic sort of exacerbate this? And how do you face it now?
Well, certainly once we relied a lot more on shipped goods, we saw a lot of people relying on things being delivered to their homes. That put a lot more capacity into the system that they just did not have room to deal with. Right now, I think the long-term solution has to deal with hiring up more people, bringing in more equipment, making sure that the freight railroads have a more robust operation that's able to meet the moment. But there are also, plenty of solutions that can happen in the near term, just in terms of changing scheduling, doing a handful of things that will make the railroads more flexible and capable of meeting the needs that we have.
Now, organized labor has had some high-profile wins lately. Has the economy shifted in favor of workers?
I think so. Certainly, there's a demand for workers. When you talk about a workforce shortage, we've seen this a lot over the last several months. We don't really think it's so much of a shortage as a shortage of good jobs. If you are going to actually have jobs that are high quality, that pay well, that have good benefits and recognize the quality of life issues that people are facing right now, I think you're going to see people flocking to those jobs. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that. And I think what you're seeing in terms of worker empowerment is a reflection of the fact that people recognize they're in demand. They're seeing their own worth. And that's reflected in the organizing drives we're seeing. And it's reflected in, hopefully, what will be an increase of the overall quality of jobs throughout this country.
Now, in response to some of the issues that you flagged, ABC News reached out to major rail companies, and most sent back examples of how they are trying to hire more workers and they're trying to increase efficiency. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, they are trying to hire more workers now. I think that is blind to the moment that led us here, blind to the fact that they laid off so many people and furloughed so many people leading up to the pandemic. And frankly, I think that the railroads, the fact that we are in a situation now where the agricultural community, the energy community is going and publicly testifying about the problems they're seeing with service shows you just how bad it's gotten. Because for years, we've been talking about how the workforce shortages are going to degrade service and they're going to create a problem. But a lot of times the people that relied on the railroads were not interested in speaking out. They weren't interested in sounding the alarm because they didn't want that to affect their service down the road. It's gotten so bad that now they're speaking out about it. And I think that just shows you how desperate people are to actually get better service now.
All right, Greg Regan, president of the AFL-CIO's Transportation Trades Department. We appreciate it. Greg, thank you.
Thank you so much.